Ask each of the panelists before we get started with the questions, if you would like to just take no more than 2 minutes and talk about why you're here this evening, what you think your most important contribution is to improving education in Newark. And we can just start with Jean Campbell.
Thank you, Tony. Good afternoon. Good evening.
Good evening.
Let me take a 2-minute break. I don't like talking about myself too well. I know. I'm a little shy about some things. But you said started in the 70s. I started at Robert Treat School that we named Marcus Garvey on January the 5th, 1970. Because I was the principal of Newark Prep School, it was a school that I thought that we would take and have our own secondary school. We being a member of the Committee for Unified Newark, and then Imamu Barak at the time was saying we're having a difficult time at Robert Treat. So I had to give up my quest to take over a secondary school and go back into the system, because I'd taken a short recess, and come back into the school at Robert Treat School. And I think that I had a very fine education in learning how to really operate a system. Because it wasn't too long after that, I became administrative assistant to the superintendent, who was Stanley Taylor, who was the first black superintendent in the city of Newark. And after watching him go through all of the unnecessary politics of Newark, and then he had to leave, not on his own accord, and then leaving the central office, I decided to take another trip into Quitman Street School. I only stayed there for about 6 months, and then became the deputy superintendent under Alonzo Cottrells. And that was a very interesting experience, but he too suffered an interesting fate of dealing with the politics of Newark. And then following him, Columbus Sally, of course, came in. I stayed with him for a minute, and then went back into the school system at Camden. So, interestingly, during that 70s, we had a quite interesting time. I'll give it to juniors, because I don't want that fist to come this way.
Hello. Next year is the 50th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act in this country, but it's also the 50th year of my involvement, my living and working in Newark as well. So the question is, what has been my what do I think is my most important contribution? My most important contribution is that I've been involved in struggle during those 50 years. And as a result of that, I felt like I could write something about it. And so I put it in my book, which is called Unfinished Agenda, Urban Politics in the Era of Black Power. So I didn't write it just to be writing about me, although I'm in it as a memoir. I wrote it because there are lessons that I felt were very important to be carried forth to the next generation and the next generation after that. So I'm going to be talking about some of those lessons that I learned in the context of the period of time that was ascribed to me, and I'm going to stop and pass it on. I'm going to take back some of the time. Maybe I can take back some of this time later on, huh? No, I guess not.
Use it or you lose it.
Use it or lose it.
Yes. Good evening. I'm Carol Graves. I have lived 70 and then a few. And I'm glad to say that I am here in my right mind, a little weak leg, but I think it's time that people understand that Newark public schools didn't just arrive yesterday, that there are many of them. I'm a homeowner, I pay taxes, I pay the taxes for charter schools, I pay the taxes for the public schools. I am a trade unionist. I come out of a household where my father was a steel worker, my mother was an electrical worker, leaning socialist, but voting Democrat, and a proud member of the American Federation of Teachers, one who has gone through multitudes of strikes and never had a conscience behind it, because I know philosophically what it is about, not race, but class, and it still continues to be that. We need to understand the divisions that come, and we need to come together understanding. And I am an educator, special needs teacher, taught for 8 years at Dayton Street School. Loved what I did. Loved the school, loved the children, and continue to love the children of Newark. And I don't care whose children they are. I love them because education is in my body. My mother came from Macon, Georgia. She told us stories about black men being dragged behind carts, burned, lynched. We know, my generation knows what is important and what you need to share so that people understand nothing is given to you. Power concedes to power. And we can work together, but you need to understand that some of my philosophy is different from the people who run our school system, who run our state. And I'm proud of it. And I'm glad that I can share that with you. And I finally want to say there's a zero up, but somebody in this room, I brought my cowbell. Somebody in this room knows what this cowbell is. And maybe when I get to talk to you, I will tell you what it's about. But I'm glad to see all of the faces out here because we're all here for an education. And I am teachers union through and through, public employees, and I feel we have a right to exist. Yes. And we have a right to get paid decent wages, and we should never be ashamed of it. Never.